Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about inferences with regression, kind of just continue. So there's three things that you should know that will kind of affect the standard error, the SE of the regression. The first is the spread around the line, which is just the standard deviations of the residual. The farther things are from the line, the larger the standard deviation is going to be. And so this is the equation if you needed to see it. It's the sum of the residuals after being squared over n minus 2. So if you have to actually do this by hand because you don't have a printout, then you're going to do the residuals squared, add them up, divide by n minus 2, and then take the square root. Another thing that affects the line is the spread of the values, how far they are from left to right. If everything's kind of clumped in the center, then it's going to give you a different standard error than if they were spread kind of evenly across the x-axis. And this is just the standard deviation of the x values, which is usually on computer printouts, or you can find by just doing your 1-vars test. The other thing that's going to affect it is sample size. Remember, the larger the sample, it usually makes things more accurate. Okay, so what I wanted to do is just look at a computer printout, make sure that you understand the different pieces of it. The first thing is the income, which is the slope, the B1. And I know it's the slope because the constant here, that's going to be the y-intercept, which is B sub 0. Another thing that you need to recognize is the standard error, or the standard deviation for the slope, because there's some equations where we have to use that. You also need to have SE. This is the standard deviations for the residuals. It marks it on the calculator and computer printouts as just an S. So you have to recognize that that is actually SE, the standard deviation for the residuals, when you have to use it in different formulas. The p-value for the slope is usually going to be the second one, and you know it's for the slope because it's in the same line as the slope. One thing that you need to recognize for computer printouts is that they test for a two-tailed test. So if your alternate hypothesis is less than or greater than, then you need to divide this computer printout p-value by 2 to give you actual p-value for your hypothesis test. Okay, so sometimes you're going to have to calculate a p-value without a table. And so the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to determine your t-value. And your t-value is the slope that you have minus the slope of the sample. And a lot of times this is going to be the hypothesis slope. And if you remember, most of our null hypothesis, we're saying the slope doesn't change. So it's the slope minus 0 over the standard deviations of the slope. Okay? And then you also need to determine the degrees of freedom. And for these, remember, we don't know the slope, we don't know the y-intercept, so that's why it's n minus 2. And then you use your calculator for the TCDF, the lower, the upper, and then the degrees of freedom. If you have a positive t-value, your lower is going to be that t-value, and your upper is going to be a big number. And then if you have a negative t-value, it's backwards. The lower is that negative kind of infinity number, and the upper is that negative t-value. Okay, so what's going to happen is some questions are going to pop up on the side where you're going to have to take this information in this computer printout to try and answer the questions. Same thing here. I hope you did those last set of questions good. Here's the second question. And again, some numbers are going to pop up based on that so that I'm able to kind of assess and see how you're doing. Okay, so what's next? After you practice those questions and try them out, I need you to go to the blob and write a comment or question about the videos and examples. AP students, there's an extra step that you have to be able to do, and so I've made a separate video for you on determining confidence intervals of predictions. So you need to watch the next video also. So schedule for this week. Monday you're going to do a review and practice this chapter. Wednesday we're reviewing for the test on chapters 26 and 27, and then Thursday we are taking the test. Okay, so don't forget to go to the blob, write a question or comment, and AP students watch the second video.